This is It's an Inside Job, and I'm your host, Jason Lim. This is the show where we explore the stories, strategies, and science behind growing resilience, nurturing well-being, and leading with intent. Because when it comes down to it, it's all an inside job. Well, this week on It's an Inside Job, we are returning to that very important topic, innovation. Because innovation, it's the lifeblood of organizations, of companies, facing any of today's complex challenges. That could be AI, machine learning, to climate change and quantum computing. This pace of disruption is just accelerating. And the question is, how do we ensure these technologies serve us rather than overwhelm us? And that's what I explore in this conversation with my guest, Jannicke Birkevold. Now, Jannicke's clocked over 2 decades of experience under her belt as an experienced leader and innovation expert. She's worked in the intersection of technology, business, and customer relations. She's led major digital initiatives at DNB, and that's Den Norske Bank. That's the First National Bank of Norway, where she headed innovation projects like ID.me and contributing to the success of another technology called VIPS, which is Norway's mobile payment solution. She's also been recognized as one of Norway's top 50 women in tech. She brings both deep subject matter expertise and a proven track record of turning ideas into solutions that create real value. So in this episode, we're going to be looking at how emerging technologies are reshaping business, society, and even global power dynamics. And so in this episode, you'll discover why organizational support and psychological safety are non-negotiable for meaningful innovation. What leaders can learn from real-world case studies like Norway's VIPS mobile payment system and digital ID solutions, and also how to balance technological opportunity with human adaptability, so innovation creates real value rather than just the hype. And towards the end of our conversation, we will highlight the single most important mindset shift leaders and organizations must embrace if they want to remain relevant in a world defined by disruption. Growing disruption. So without further ado, let's slip into the stream and meet Jannicke Birkevold. Jannicke, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Could we kick off, as I do with most of my guests, by introducing who you are and what you specialize in?
Yeah, my name is Jannicke. I have been working with development since I started working. So I'm working in the crossroad between technology and customers and innovation and project management, kind of. So I've been working in all different areas when it comes to develop new products, new technology, new organizations, and that kind of stuff. So I quite wide experience, and I also like to work on different levels. So I really like to work when it comes to deep dive into new stuff, working as subject matter experts and really learn things. But I also like to work as a manager and as a leader, being part of working more strategy-wise. So I kind of going up and down, deep dive into things, and then go up in the helicopter and try to have a broader view of what's happening in the organization and also in society around us.
Now, I think this is a very important conversation, especially as we slide further into 2025, considering the innovation. We are on the edge of a lot of surprising developments when it comes to, I think this is no surprise to anyone, unless they've been living under the rock, with artificial intelligence, AI, with machine learning, with quantum computing, with augmented reality and virtual reality, and all the other acronyms we can throw in this conversation. Because I think it's important to understand that with all these innovative new technologies that are coming online, it takes a while for society to kind of ramp up and to catch up. And so I think what's important in this conversation is to understand that, yes, all these technologies are disruptive like any new technology throughout the centuries. But what we don't want is just to be a disruption. I think it's very important that we also think about how it can, as you said quite well, how it can value people and organizations. Perhaps we could kick off and you could describe little more about how you see innovation and how, from your experience, and then we'll start general and kind of filter it down to more specifics.
Yeah. So, like you say, I think when we're talking about new technology, I absolutely agree with you. We have seen that for centuries. And we have also seen artificial intelligence for centuries, actually, since we start making the first machine that could think, that could do things that only a human brain could do before. And then we started developed artificial intelligence. But what we also have seen through history is that you have some technology that brings substantial leaps when it comes to how it's changed society. And I think we are in the middle of one of those these days. But what also, how it also affects the society is that it also changed the power balance between people, between countries, between companies. So it also changed the technology itself, also changed the society because there is different how people are able to capitalize on this new technology and use it. So I think where we are now, I think it's really exciting times and a little bit frightening also because it's happening so much at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to scroll through Instagram or read LinkedIn, I think for a lot of people, they may be sitting more with the frightening side of the fence than the more exciting side of the fence. I'm kind of sitting on the fence because it doesn't really affect my industry right now. But I just recently saw a Google event where a former CEO of Google says, within the 12 months, by the end of this year, there may not be any need for coders. By the end of 2 years, top mathematicians and physicists, perhaps not even there, because of I think they called it AGI, artificial general intelligence that is coming on. I mean, what are some of your ideas about that before we dive more into innovation?
Yeah, I think you hear a lot of very smart people who say they are really afraid of artificial general intelligence. So I think, and what it actually says is that they're going to be so smart, they're going to be able to process so much information much faster than we can with our brain. So they will be actually smarter than us. But in a way that we define smart today. Because, as you know, I think we only know a little bit about how our own brain function. I think I read someplace we know 10% of how it's working, but 90% is a black box for us. So I'm not afraid that technology should replace overthinking and feelings and that kind of stuff. But I think we are developing a really powerful tool. And that we need to think about how to use it. So, for example, I read now that the last OpenAI solution, they refused to turn itself off because they have coded it so that it's going to solve problems and it's going to work around all obstacles that it meets during that exercise. And turning off itself off is absolutely an obstacle. So we have actually coded it to work around it and don't do it. But I'm not that afraid. Some people think it's stupid not to be afraid of artificial general intelligence. But I think the society will develop also to use it in a wise way. But of course, it's also scary because due to the geopolitical situation that we see, how is all this? And I think that's also part of why we see all this geopolitical power game now, is because we are in changing times and people that are fighting for positions. So I think this is linked.
It is an interesting period we are in, and it seems to be a confluence. Now, innovation is generally being thought about, driven by the human mind or a group of human minds working together in that overused term of brainstorming and trying to find new solutions to new challenges using maybe past technologies, past ways of doing things, but to innovate on them. As machine learning, as AI becomes much more ubiquitous, it's all around us. How do you see the space within innovation moving from just a human domain more to a human and machine domain, if not just a machine domain itself in some industries?
I think you're absolutely right. I think we are using when you see to that, when you look upon the traditional innovation tools that you use, you do prototyping, you ask people, you do scenarios, you do all this kind of stuff. Artificial intelligence is brilliant for doing that kind of work. So I think we will need to, like everyone, I think we will need to just implement AI into the way that we are working and use it in a smart way. But so it's just another way of working. But when it comes to innovation, and what I really think is most important is to understand what kind of value should I create, or what kind of problem should I solve. And what we see when it comes to technology very often is that you develop new technology, and then we say, okay, hey, we have this nice new technology. We need something to use it for. For example, if you look at blockchain, we have all these kind of blockchain companies. When they started working on blockchain, was, we can use it for trade finance. We can use it for ID. We can use it for transfer of money. We can use it. So you are looking for all these different places to use this new technology, and then and I think when it comes to blockchain, we actually still do, and I think that's also a very important thing about innovation, that you have to try a lot of different things to understand new technology and how to use them. And where they actually are bringing value. And I think that's what you talk about when it comes to digital. Be able to imagine where could new technology be used. What does it actually mean? There is what we call a digital forestillingsevne in Norwegian. I struggle to find a good translation.
Yeah, I guess the closest would be the imagination of using the digital sphere or digital imagination.
Yeah. So and I think that's what that is. It's also to be able to understand is that technology and how you can combine them to create new services, new products, new things, actually, and enrich people's life.
So, I mean, what does that look like? I mean, is it a bunch of, human beings sitting around the table? And as we've become so used to, the quality of the prompt that we ask an AI is going to be the quality of the answer we get.
Hey, quick question for you. Are you someone who wants to be fit, healthy, and happy? And what if I told you you could get your dream body by simply just listening to a podcast? I'm Josh.
And I'm KG, and we're the hosts of the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast.
Listen, we get it. Fitness isn't easy. Carbs, no carbs.
Just stop, okay? It doesn't have to be that complicated. And that's why we made this podcast. We get straight to the facts so you can become your best you.
So the way to check us out is click the link in the show notes or search Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast on any of the major podcast platforms. We'll see you soon.
What we know is that artificial intelligence, it's changed the interface between people and technology.
Okay.
So using these large language models, for example, they are able to understand when you speak. They will also be able to understand your gestures. So when I'm talking to you like this, using my hands or looking straight to the camera, it means something. I communicate this way also, and we will see that artificial intelligence could in much larger way be also be able to interpret what does it actually means. So I don't need to speak only by my prompt, for example, going forward. I think we will interact with technology in a very new way. And so that's one way of thinking, one step ahead. So it's not just prompting. For what it actually is doing now is that we are sitting on a typewriter with electricity on and writing. But it's not a very natural way for us to communicate, not with each other, and it will not be in 10 years the natural way to communicate with technology either. It will just be integrated using our language, our speak, eyes, gestures, and it will kind of be seamless connection between the digital and the physical world in new ways. And in that way, we can see that what we see in new technology when it comes to AI, when it comes to VR, when it comes to R, it will all help us to kind of build a new relation with the technology for each and one of us. So when we, for example, have the damp, the machine, and started to produce it, it was more like, okay, it produced a little part of the way we use technology and changed a lot because we were able to replace human workforce with machines. But now we are kind of also see how can technology enrich people who is working with more abstract thinking, doing, producing things in a more intellectual way.
Yeah, just talking to you, but talking to you, seeing your mannerisms and your body language, you seem to be much more positive to a lot of these new technologies that are coming online, that we're migrating more into it. So I guess maybe a more general question. From what I understand is that you've led a number of internal startups in the organizations you've worked with and national tech initiatives. How has your perspective on what makes innovation successful evolved over the years? I guess that's a more general question without getting too much in the weeds of specific technologies.
Yeah, I think you have, when it comes to development, you have different phases. So I like to think, and I like to work on all different phases, actually. So what I'm talking about now is kind of more like pre-ID phase. So what we're doing then is that we are observing what's happening in the tech era, what is happening with how people use tech, what is happening, where do we see people invest money, so kind of understanding what's going on out there. What does it mean? What will change? So that's more like, continuously keeping an eye on what's happening outside the organization or outside your own life. So being in touch with development. And then you start working on what does it mean? What kind of ideas can we develop? So, and that could be different kind of ideas. So, but most, when it comes to business, what we want to develop is either ideas that connect the customer more close to us so that we can build out a stronger relationship, or something that we can earn money on and easily capitalize on, or something that can reduce our costs. So that's kind of the three main areas that we are looking into, and we look for ideas. And then I think there is an important aspect, and that is timing. When should you do your idea? For example, if you look at Vips, which we made, that was what we actually did there.
So could you just clarify Vips for our international audience?
So Vips is a P2P payment, a person-to-person payment. It started out like that. And it's very easy. It's like a mobile app. So what we did actually just one very important thing, and that was that we connected each person's bank account number with a mobile number. So when you send a message, you can just send it. You can just say, okay, I want to transfer money to this telephone number, or this person that has this telephone number. So it's very, very easy to start working. And the idea itself is very simple. And we had been working on that for like 3 years before we launched it. But I think when we launched it, the timing was very right, because the management then was very anxious about Apple Pay coming and being launched. And also Facebook was looking into this kind of initiatives. So it was kind of a feel of urgency. So we get the attention of the management, and we get the money to invest and develop. And also people, we solved a real problem for people. So because it's very hard it's very hard to do the person-to-person payment when you don't when you little reduce paper money like you do in the Norwegian society. So I think the timing was right. I think had we done it 5 years before, it might not have been that successful, or later. So I think timing when it comes to innovation is
It's key.
really it's key. It's a key component, and I also think that people driving innovation, like myself, we are not the best person to see that, because we always feel always have a feel of urgency. So you need good management and good people that are able to both keep you motivated as an innovator, but also have a broader understanding of where we are when it comes to the timing.
What were some of the sort of the skepticism or critical thoughts about it when you first kind of launched the ideas? Because I think this is a good example. Just to speed people up, Vipps in Norway is something that's ubiquitous now. Everybody uses it. There's no question. It's just part of the background of our financial society. We are pretty much cashless per se, and everything's digital, and we don't even think about it. But that's on the other end. Once everyone's adopted technology, everyone's used to it. But if we rewind back to when it was first kicked off, what was some of the skepticism to the new technology that you can recall?
I think in the market, it was very clear that we solved a very real problem for the customers. So it was very not easy. It was a great marketing work getting it out, but it wasn't. What we saw was that people were not willing to pay anything to use it. So the customer needed it for free, and then was the problem, because for the bank that developed it, it cost money to transfer the money, because we could have transferred money inside of our own bank for free, kind of very cheap. But we also knew that this is a game where we need everyone on board, being able to scale it, and enable to build new services that you can earn money on. So what we needed to do was to use the Visa rails. So we have to pay a lot to actually do the transfer. So the bank had to pay for the transfer between
for
different
each
banks.
Transfer, the company, the bank had to pay to Visa, right?
Yeah. So and that was an investment that needed to be done. So, and it cost a lot of money, and they didn't earn money for several years. So that was a risk that you had to be willing to take to do that investment and to have this high cost, even though you have no income. And then the thought was, and what we see now is that, okay, we will build new services on top of these ecosystems so that we can start earning money. And also we did something with the reels underneath, so that we don't have to use Visa in Norway, for example, anymore. But so I think the cost was the most critical. That okay, we are willing to do the investment, and we had a management that was willing to do that at the time.
And now Vipps, which was part of the National Bank of Norway, has spun off into its own company, and it in itself is a success story. But what did you personally learn from that process, from cradle, the birth of the idea, to where it is now, and it's spun off, as I said, as its own company, that we can apply? What were some of the insights you personally got or received that we can apply to new technologies coming on and the innovative process?
I think what my reflection on what from the whole Vipps experience is that you have to keep things simple and really focus on the value that you want to create. And also you have to respect that there is a lot of different competence areas that's needed. For example, building the technical solution, of course, which is close to my heart. It's a job, and it's not easy. It's hard, but But so for people standing outside, they say, okay, but it's just to build a new technical solution. But then you have the other things that, for example, is marketing. And I think what the marketing people in DNB did with VIPs when it comes to be able to scale the use of it was brilliant. And I think also it's easy to say outside the marketing team, okay, but that's easy. But it isn't. It's hard work. So I think having respect for that everyone needs to contribute in able to have a succeed. I think that's very clear from VIPs. And also I think what you saw that also was a key element when it comes to VIPs back in the days is that we were able to launch to really engage every employee in DNB. So 10,000 people were selling VIPs and start using it. And then you had a network effect.
Yes.
So first they start using it with their families and to their friends. And then it's very quickly spread. And the spread was critical in able to be a success, that you had that
so the innovation process in itself is not just the technical solution. It's the marketing around it. It's changing mindsets. It's shifting mindsets to adopt a new practice of whatever that may be, or for people to see how that technology can benefit them.
Yeah, and I think the mix, it's important to have people that understand the mix. And also, it's also kind of fun because history has its way. I think I was part of VIPs in the beginning. I haven't been working with VIPs for several years. But I think it's fun for me, who was part of this, also to see how the story about VIPs is developing as time goes. It's not that people are lying, but you're telling the history from different perspective after the project after VIPs have grown. Now it's 10 years since we launched it. And you remember, your memory is selective. So you remember the history so that it fits to the story you want to tell today. And it's it's nothing wrong in that. It's just interesting to see and listen to people telling the story now.
Another project you work on was ID Me, or Leading ID Me. That's IDMEE. Could you explain what that technology is? And maybe, I guess that's a little more current, and maybe that can also be some lessons we can relate to in regards to innovation.
Yeah, and I think that's also a good example of how different technology needs to work together to be able to create services. So what we did in IDME is that we have a problem in Norway because you need to identify yourself in order to get a digital ID. You need to present yourself with your passport in the bank or at the police and prove, this is me, Jannicke, and here is the proof. And then you get issued a digital ID, or actually your token, your kodebrikke. And since Norway is a large land, we saw that this is troublesome for people living in rural
in the sense of actually
areas.
Physically going to the police station, or physically going.
Yes. Because we are closing down offices. So if you lived in Karasjok, you need to go to Alta in neighborhoods, for example. So we wanted to see, can we do this whole project digital? And what we were looking at that was, when you look in your passport, you see that you have this chip in your passport. And on this chip, all the information from the passport is stored. So there is a high-resolution picture of you. It's all the information that's in the passport. And this information is digitally signed by the issuer country. So you are able to use a RFID reader and upload all the information from the passport, and you can use your phone for that. So what we did, we made a solution where you could take your passport and you can take your phone and you can just put your phone on the passport. We uploaded all the information, also the high resolution picture of you, and then you could film yourself while we are flashing a lot of light and analyzing how was that light reflected. And we did that to be sure that you didn't hold up a picture, but it was a live person, not wearing a mask or anything, doing the ID. And then we matched the face that you are filming with the face that they are on the photo. And then we could say, okay, we are absolutely sure, Jason, it's you showing your passport. And then we are able to give you a digital bank ID, for example. So we had this idea, is this something we can work? And first we had a very brilliant colleague who made this solution by using open source. And so first to see, okay, can we do this? Is it doable technically? And we found that it was, but we also found that, okay, here is some areas that we don't have the capabilities of ourselves. For example, when it comes to keeping track of all the different passport and all the digital signatures that we have to be sure that it was a real passport. And also the liveness detection, the fraud detection. So what we did then was that we have to find partners who could work together with us to deliver those capabilities. And we found then one UK firm and one from the Netherlands. And then we developed this product together as an internal startup. So, but I think also that was also maybe a little bit a project that was not, the timing was maybe not that good. We were maybe a little bit earlier. But what we did was we developed the solutions and tried to sell it as a standalone solution. But after a while, we found, okay, either we have to build up to a larger organization internally. We were like 10 people or something like that. Or we have to find a partner. So what we did was that we actually, so ID.me is now a part of Bank ID. So in the Bank ID app, you have this little icon that says ID yourself, and that's our solution lying behind that. And I think that was it was wise to put the technology into that app.
So one of the lessons you learned from taking the idea from concept to market, specifically ID.me in this case, was that instead part of the innovation process was, as I understand you're saying, is that we didn't need to build up internally more people in a greater department focusing on this, but let's find an external department that has the competency and knowledge in which we can collaborate to bring it to market. Was that one of the lessons learned?
And also I think we didn't think everything through when it comes to the sales, to building a sales organization. For example, we were thinking because DNB has offices all over the world, and we knew this is a product that we can sell internationally. So, but what we didn't think through was that banking people is not the best to sell technology. They are very good at selling
financial products,
but not when you present the, and it's obvious. When I say it now, I think it's obvious that we couldn't use that the same people to sell technology, but we were maybe a little naive. So that was one of the learnings that we had among many. So
when building something new like this, if we. What are some of the hidden barriers that can stall innovation in larger organizations or corporations? I mean, from your perspective,
different things. I think you need someone who really is passionate about this to drive the innovation, and that people are different. But for me, as personally, I need to have I need to feel secure. I need to feel safe, and I need the managers that support me so that I know if I fuck up, okay, I will survive. People will stand by me. So for me, that's number one for me to be my best.
Yeah, so the people within the innovation department have to have some level of psychological safety. They need to feel secure and connected, and that their contributions have value in order for them to innovate.
Yeah, because otherwise I think you get afraid and then you don't dare to do anything.
So, because a lot of corporations that I work within, they are driven by the short term, which you can understand. It's the quarterly results. But innovation is the long game. It requires a perspective or a mindset of long-term development. And sometimes within corporations that are so focused on the short term, Jannicke, is that, that's almost counterintuitive within an organization to have one dedicated department that's looking at the long game. That, no, this is not going to be profitable within 12 months. That maybe it's 36, 48 months or what have you. I mean, within the organizations you've worked, how has the organization in general has focused on the short term, but how have they been able to incubate an environment for long-term thinking where innovators such as you feel psychologically safe to make mistakes, to stumble, to learn from mistakes? That's a long question.
I think this, but I do understand where you come. I think this is all about cultures, and I think it's about top management investment. So I have had some really great managers over time. So Rune Bjerke, who was in the DNB both with Vips and with several of my innovation projects, was really supportive. I say, okay, I want this. How is this going? I want this. So when you have this strong buying from top management, it's easier. I had the same in the tax department with Bjarne Hope, who was also a marvelous top manager, who was visiting the project in the middle of the night when we were working and really caring, serving chocolate because it was nothing else he could do, but he was serving chocolate. So I think if you want to succeed in innovation, it must be buy-in for top management. I think it's really, really hard if not. And I think that go a little bit in cycles because it's not important for top management all the time. My impression, my experience is that it's often top managers that have been in their role for some time.
Okay.
That is easier to invest, and that makes sense because when you start in a new position, you would really want to deliver on the core business first and understand it and be sure. And when you feel you have control of that, it's easier to start adding flavors like more to take more risk because innovation is risk. I think you need also top managers that are secure that feel secure in their own position.
Okay, so what I understand is that there has to be top management may have two perspectives. One is the short-term game, the tactical, but the strategical is the long-term. So they have to also have a mindset. They want to be invested in the idea that our innovation departments will bring new solutions that could be profitable in the future for us. And if we don't have things in the pipeline, then we are going to get stunted and maybe caught off guard by other industries or other competitors that will disrupt us and maybe even that could be the end of us. So what I understand is one of the hidden barriers is to take down is to make sure some of the people sitting in the top chairs, they are able to create an ecosystem in which innovation can flourish. And that's to give them the latitude and altitude to make mistakes, to learn and to understand there is risk in this. Mm-hmm. So what are some other hidden barriers that you've discovered in organizations that can hinder innovation and ways of overcoming it?
Yeah, of course, it could also be that new products or new solutions will compete with existing ones. And then people want to protect their own areas and their own revenue streams, for example, and don't want to transfer people to the new one. We have that also with Vips, for example. When should we move transactions to a brand that we are actually losing money on? Is that a wise investment, or should we try to get people to use solutions and pay for doing net transaction, for example?
Yeah, that's an interesting. So you can have an internal conflict because one innovative solution actually threatens the revenue stream or threatens the livelihood of another department. So I guess in general terms, from your experience, what is needed to try to bridge that so we can try to mitigate some of this threat response?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that you can do it yourself inside the company, or they can come on external competitors and take the same positions. Then it's better that you develop that product yourself than expose yourself by not changing, because you have to continuously change the value that you create for the customers. So I think creating this understanding of what's happening outside the organization is really important.
That's fascinating.
And I think that also a very important part of the innovation work is to bring new perspective, new knowledge, example of what other people are doing into the organization, and build understanding of what's happening out there. I think that's also a really important part of working with innovation.
I think that's a great reframe, because yes, internally this new technology may be a threat, but was even a greater threat because the idea is already out of the bottle, the genie's out of the bottle. So that this technology is coming regardless if we like it or not. Shall we do it internally and, take the punches, but be able to weather and have an innovative product? Or shall we be threatened by someone who could be more nimble, faster at bringing this product to market, or innovate a product to market, or technology to market? And then we're all in a sinking ship. Is that what I understand? I think that's a great reframe.
Yeah. So that's one way of doing it. When it comes to larger organization, it's also always a discussion: should you have your own group of people working with innovation, or should you do it in the core business and have people working there? And that's also something very interesting, because of course you should work with innovation also in the core production and make things better all the time. The challenge then is that you don't have enough distance, so you don't see the disruptive activities going on, because you are wrapped up in the daily run. But then if you have a separate innovation gang working with the disruptive things, and you want to take that into the core business, you have it's not invented here syndrome, that people haven't been part of developing the solution, so that they feel no ownership for it. So it's easy that it's just, if you place it out into the organization, it just dies, because you have no passion, you have no mama you have no big mama to look after the baby. So and I think you need to new products and something, you really need to nurture them in order to succeed for quite some time. So I think that's also a very usual discussion that large organizations have. How should we place the innovation team? Should it be in the line organization, or should it be as a separate entity?
I think that's an important conversation, because if we circle back to VIPS, what you said, the marketing was very important there. Obviously, the technology, but it was bringing, to some extent, 10,000 employees to have some level of ownership of buy-ins, where they're pushing the idea, pushing the mindset of this new technology. What I'm understanding you're saying is that it's important to spread the sense of ownership and buy-in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think communicate and to use the innovation people to make sure that you have people that are willing to share and let other people shine also, and really share all they've learned, share insight. Don't keep that close to heart, because in an organization, things should be shared. And then, because you both build competence in the organization, but you also build a sense of proudness of the organization. Yeah. We have people working in this. I come to this dinner appointment and I know this. I've started using Copilot at work and bring something new. I think you cannot overestimate the importance of making people feel like they part of the development, that they understand what's happening. I think that's really, really important to succeed when it comes to working with innovation. And also because I think a lot of people are working with innovation, because when you work with new stuff, you don't know. You do qualified guesses, but you don't know. So there is a really big chance that you are saying things that will not happen. For example, first time, I think I tried Snapchat. I think it must be 8 or 9 years. The first month it was coming, maybe 8 years ago. And I was, no one is going to use that. Who wants to miss their messages? I look where we are today. So it was more like, because for me then it was important to have the archive of all the messages. I couldn't know I was going to send 100 snap each day. So
yeah. So you just don't know, right? It's
you don't know. So you have to be able to. And so you just have to own your failures also.
I like that. Well, talking about owning things, if we could segue, you were named one of Norway's top 50 women in tech. I was wondering, what did that recognition mean to you personally, and how do you feel it may or has influenced your work?
I really, really appreciated the recognition for being named there, and I think it was the first year that list was made. And this is a list that was made for having more women in tech and giving role models and say, okay, here's women working in tech, that's good and have achieved something. So I really appreciate it, because very often I have been the only woman in the room, both working in tech and in finance. I think it's nice. It's nice to have some external recognition. I appreciate it.
I think what you said also, it's very important, especially for young people coming up, to see that it is possible, to see that, yes, this person has made it, she or he or what have you has kind of broken through whatever sort of glass ceiling there was, and it is possible. So as we come close to the top of the hour, I have another question for you. For someone who wants to work within tech innovation but doesn't know where to begin, what's one mindset or habit you'd recommend starting with?
Be curious, and test new stuff. Sit down with young people, with your children, and follow them. Look, what are they doing online? I have 2 sons, and like you know, they are 22 and 25 this year. And I remember when they were kids and playing all these data games.
Yeah.
I all the time have a discussion with my husband, and he was like, they should not play these games. They should be out playing. And I was like, okay, but they can play for. They need to learn to be able to regulate this themselves. And then I sat down and I played with them, and I looked at what are they actually doing. And then I said to my husband, have you done that? And he hadn't, because he wasn't interested. And then I said, okay, I will discuss this with you when you sit down and play and do gaming with them for 3 hours. Then we can discuss it. When you haven't even looked into it, I'm not willing to discuss it. So I think be curious, sit down with your kids, because they are digital natives.
Well, thank you very much today, Jannicke. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
As we cross the finish line of today's episode, a few key insights stand out from my conversation with Jannicke Birkevold. First, innovation flourishes only when organizations create psychological safety, and leaders actively support long-term exploration. Without that foundation, even the best ideas struggle to survive. Second, real-world cases like VIPs and Norway's digital ID, well, they remind us that success depends on timing, simplicity, and solving real customer problems, not just on the technology itself. And finally, the most important insight, the mindset that will keep leaders and organizations relevant is adaptability over certainty. Technologies will continue to evolve, the markets will shift, and disruption will remain a constant. What makes a difference is not holding on tighter to what we know, but being willing to learn, adjust, and grow as circumstances change. And if there's one thing to take with you from today's episode, it's this. The leaders who thrive are not those who predict every turn, but those who embed resilience, curiosity, and adaptability into the way they think, decide, and act. And a big shout out to you, Jannicke, for spending your valuable time with me today, sharing some of your thoughts behind innovation, because it is a necessity. It is a skill that we all need to adapt. And we need to move from the short-term to the long-term thinking, because there are a lot of challenges on the horizon, and we are migrating into a lot of them. Folks, if you know someone this episode might be of interest, please share it with them. It helps me spread the word. And to you, dear listener, thank you for allowing me to be part of your day, and I hope you pulled something from this conversation. And until we meet again at the end of the week for Bite Size Fridays, keep well, keep strong, and we'll speak soon.